Is Wacken worth it? Wacken is the world's biggest heavy metal festival. It has a massive reputation, and the experience being sent there as a band has a lot of hype. So to uncover whether it's truly worth it or not, I spoke to every band Sub-Saharan Africa has ever sent to Wacken. One of our bands was lucky enough to actually win in Wacken and placed first in 2016. Other bands have had other things happen because of Wacken. There is a lot of information and perspective in this video, so I hope that you enjoy it.
What's up guys, I'm Chris Hall.
My name is Eric Gerber, or Eric Gerber if you're a cool kid.
My name's Gavin. I'm was the vocalist and frontman for Zombies Ate My Girlfriend.
I'm Thomas Tron. I'm in the band Megalodon.
My name is Regan. I'm from Pretoria and I am the vocalist for Facing the Gallows.
My name is Brandon Render. I'm the vocalist in a band from Pretoria called Middle Grounds.
My name is Matthew Sonopool. I play in the heavy metal band Sunken State, your boys.
And I went to Wacken 2013 and 2016 with Infanteria and Zombies Ate My Girlfriend.
We went to Wacken in 2014.
Zombies went to Wacken and won the Wacken Metal Battle of the Bands in 2016.
Megalodon went to Wacken in 2017.
We went to Wacken in the year 2019.
We went to Wacken in 2023.
We were the 2024 Wacken Metal Battle South African winners.
What were the best and worst moments of Wacken?
Best moments obviously had to be winning it in 2016 with Zombies. I mean, that was incredible. Some of the other best moments, I mean, all the bands that we got to see going twice. I mean, we saw everything from Testament to Alice Cooper to Rammstein to Iron Maiden to, I mean, you name it. And just meeting all the cool people from all around the world there was amazing.
Well, the number one best thing by far was actually being on stage in front of thousands of people, like experiencing the festival, watching the bands, eating the food, drinking the beers, small things like taking the shuttle around the campgrounds and experiencing everything that Wacken has to offer. The other really amazing thing was experiencing Germany as a country, just like doing the touristy shit. For most of us, that was also one of our first overseas experiences. Then finally just meeting the bands in the artist village, like the other bands competing from the other countries in the same metal battle that we did. You know, they were just so stoked to be there just like we were. And sometimes you'd meet some of the like bigger bands back there as well, so that was also really amazing.
The best moment at Wacken, probably when they open the curtains for the first time and you just see this like sea of people, hardcore metalheads, and yeah, the actual show, the actual performance, that energy, the culture, everything that is Wacken was just such a mad experience.
Obviously there's just an absolute fuck ton of highlights. I could go on for hours about all the awesome parts. And I mean, of course, winning the entire thing was fantastic, you know, especially in light of the fact that I had said that I would win. If you watch the Zombies documentary, you'll see me say a couple of years before that, when Infanteria won and they were being sent, I was busy recording an album for Zombies at the time, and yeah, you'll see me say, send me, I'll win it. And then luckily being afforded the opportunity to get sent and actually winning, obviously a big highlight.
I was just suggesting that if you want to win Wacken, you rather get me on the vocals, so I can do what Chris does.
Yeah, straight.
Basically, you just ooh, 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 yeah, no. You know what I'm saying?
When the curtains open and you see that sea of people, all those people standing in front of you. We had 12 to 15,000 was the estimate standing in front of us. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like 2 of the members of Zombies Ate My Girlfriend were in Infanteria when Infanteria was sent to Wacken. I think it was about 3 years before Zombies had gone. And those 2 bandmates of mine kept saying to me, you know, when those curtains open, you see all those people, you're going to cuck. And I had the exact opposite reaction, actually. As soon as those curtains opened and I saw those people, I thought, this is how it should be. I felt at home on stage for probably the first time in my career. So that was a super good highlight.
The way everything was run, it was so smooth. It's the scale of it, it was just incredible to experience something on that level, you know, something that I've never seen before, and I don't think I'll ever see again unless you go to Wacken. Obviously, getting to meet and hang out with all of your favorite people. I mean, we met Chris Cole, we met Matthew from Trivium, we met Tatiana from Ginger, the guys from While She Sleeps, and like just to hang out with them, and like Caleb from Beartooth. It was really cool to just meet your heroes, you know, and like see them perform live. Like we saw Sleep Token as well, and it was just incredible.
The best moments for us as a band and for me personally was one, playing, working with those sound engineers, working with those event organizers, getting on that stage, playing in front of all those people. It's like thousands of people and they all haven't seen you before. So that was probably the coolest thing for me, just playing. Very close second was seeing all of my favorite bands. Like I saw a bunch of my favorite bands like Spirit Box and Opeth and Behemoth and a whole bunch of super sick bands that we got to see and experience. Many more, by the way.
I think the best experience would probably have been just kind of driving in and seeing that entire setup initially, and you kind of have like these artist gates and stuff, and it felt pretty surreal in that moment. Then from there, obviously just seeing the guys after we set up our tents, we caught up with the Binnerman, so Brian and Dion, who happened to be there as well, which was awesome. I think one of the coolest things was we got to kind of roam around and go see like what the setups were of these stages, and we kind of just stood there and like looking up at this monumentous stage, and you're just like, oh my goodness, this could be a stage that you play on like one day, kind of just putting it out there in the ether. And then definitely having a full tent the day that we played, because we had such a weird slot, so we were like, shit, no one's gonna watch us because there's so many naughty bands playing that day. But to know that, or to see that tent was full, that was sick. And yeah, overall, I think just the experience being alongside your best mates at the time and just doing something like that, crazy. So I can't really say there was anything bad. Like everything was such a cool experience.
The worst part, the mud. Like the actual mud.
The mud, I think both times we went to Wacken.
It gets really rainy there, and someone told me you should take like rain boots with, but I got really small ones, so I got a massive rash on my leg. So yeah, that was pretty bad.
It was just an absolute mud fest. It just rained. I think it was only just the one day it rained, but it was just made mud for the whole time. And then you walk a long way there and it's through the mud. So that was probably the worst time. Though you don't really have many bad times. They're all good.
It's really hard because there's almost nothing bad about the experience itself. I think most of the bad stuff was like before Wacken. For instance, like we had issues with our passports, and that was super stressful. We almost missed our flight. The other bad thing about Wacken for us was again, like pre-Wacken itself, was just after we won the battle, there was a lot of hate towards us. So the post-win hate, like some people were saying that we like just buddied up with the judges, or like it was rigged, and obviously none of it's true, but it was just felt a little shitty that people were saying that kind of stuff about us, and they were, you know, a lot of people were just bad-mouthing us, calling our music shit, and it's obviously just like bad sportsmanship. I would say the pre-show nerves, it's super strict. Like you get on stage, you know, the staff there are like very on to the minute. They're like super punctual, which they have to be to run the festival on time. And I think that's the reason why it's such a successful festival, but it was also very nerve-wracking. There was just a lot of things to stress about. So that was probably the worst thing, was the pre-show nerves. And then obviously knowing that you're going to be playing in front of thousands of people, it's in itself is just pretty terrifying.
And then low light, probably on the first day of the actual festival, because you get transported the day before the festival actually opens, and you know, we had spent that day canvassing the entire camping area. It's a huge area. It's like basically an entire town that gets turned into the festival, and around that entire festival is all the camping areas, and we just walked prospecting and canvassing people to try to drum up support to come and watch Zombies. We did a lot of drinking while we were doing that, and the next day woke up and the band had left me to sleep, and so I was I spent a good few hours looking for the band. It's not a huge low point. I got sick after the show, and we had played another show in Hamburg at the Electric Ballroom. We basically played both albums that Zombies had out at the time. The low point is buttressed by the fact that I got to play another show in Europe.
Honestly, I couldn't say that there were any bad moments. To me, the traveling was just with it being my first time leaving the country. I think the traveling was way more than I expected.
In terms of the whole experience of going to Germany and everything, there wasn't really that many negative experiences. Although, I have to say, everything was crazy expensive. If you go to Germany, save up cash and don't let the rand have a negative effect on your experience.
If there was one thing you could bring from the festival back to South Africa, what would it be?
The scale, I guess. Because it's so big, it's massive. It's actually intimidating. So that and the battle jackets, like every second oak in Germany wears one of them with the patches and stuff. It's a big thing overseas, but it's not really a thing here. So that would be nice to have that over here as well.
I think like just taking the ideas and concepts of running that festival over to South Africa, that would be cool. Like just the level of precision and professionalism that those festivals are run at, and how they always run on time no matter what. But it's not just the organizers, it's also, I think, the people there is also a big thing. Like taking just that idea of the people there are just willing to do anything to support the bands, pay any amount. It's the tickets to go to Wacken's not cheap, and people they know that it's important to support the bands, not just like moral support and fan support, but also financial support. That attitude of being willing to spend money for the value that you're getting, I think that's a really important thing. Granted, I know like not everyone always has money, and you do what you can.
So if there was one thing I could bring back from Wacken to the South African heavy metal scene, was the way musicians are treated there is exceptional. Like, you literally treated like kings and queens. You have your own rooms, you get food, you get drinks, there's showers. And when I'm talking about all of this stuff, I'm not even just talking about the festival. I'm talking about when, like, backstage, you get all of this stuff, and it is absolutely crazy. And I would love to see venues treating musicians in South Africa a bit better. I think it's extremely important. I also understand that, like, we don't have a lot of venues, and maybe the venues that we have are struggling a bit financially or in whatever ways, and it can be difficult to accommodate musicians. But a couple bottles of water, maybe a pizza or something, some chips, whatever, can go a long way in how the musicians feel at your venue.
I think from a cultural aspect, they kind of beat us a little bit, and I don't mean that in a bitter way. I mean it in a way that, like, when I first grew up watching a lot of metal bands here, it felt a little bit different, and it always seems like we're talking about community and this and that, but I remember just pitching up at one of the Ginger shows, for example, and that was like a standard club show, so that's what we could compare to what we have this side. And what we had seen is dudes were queuing outside of the venues probably like 3 hours beforehand. The reason I say that's cool, and that's more of like a cultural thing, is that these guys pitch up just to watch music. Like, it's not a matter of kind of following the one band you want to watch that night. And yeah, I think that's something that we miss a lot, is guys tend to just pitch up for whoever their friends are that are playing, or some bands just pitch up and play their show and leave. And I think we all kind of need to be there and kind of see what the new up-and-comers are doing. Like, there's going to be bands that pop up in the scene that you don't know about until they've been booked, for example, for like Ramfest or something. Wouldn't you really want to be part of that journey of them, like, kind of growing? You got to see them in their infant stage kind of thing.
The absolute dedication of the people at Wacken to support bands that they don't know. There are thousands and thousands of people who will go watch bands that they just don't know or never heard of, just purely to support the music and to hopefully discover new things. Now, I know in South Africa we have a few people that do that, but I feel like it's very much, if you don't know a band, chances are you're not going to buy their tickets in South Africa. In Germany, it's the complete opposite. There were other artists on main stage or like other places that famous artists performing, but they chose to come to the Metal Battle band stage to come watch bands that they don't know. And I think if we can bring that quality to South Africa and have crowds here react that way for up and coming bands or bands that they don't know, I think the music scene would be in a much better place.
Probably the crowds. Just, and not in terms of the, you know, their engagement. Obviously, South African crowds are super engaged, and metalheads are super engaged, and you know, I certainly enjoyed engaging with them as the vocalist. But just the sheer scale, you know, of the metal scene in Europe. The scene is obviously much more well established, and I would probably just bring those crowds over.
How did this experience impact you and your band?
It definitely elevated us, that's for sure, and it kind of exposed us to what it's like to play in front of all those people on a stage like that. So I think, especially for professionalism wise, just elevated up and got us a lot more focused. Not that we weren't focused before, but no, it just really focused us so that we were just thinking about, okay, what's next? What's after Wacken? And we need to make something bigger.
Firstly, we were kind of really devastated we didn't place in the top 3 at Wacken in the battle. That was kind of like, that just sort of made us realize that we needed to do better. And then also it created a little bit of tension between band members. We lost a band member after that. So that was the one, I guess, the negative thing. On the positive side, it also made us sort of kick our asses into gear and really push to get our album done, which was Training Paths for Pathways, and just sort of take it really just more seriously and start pushing a lot harder after we saw how big the metal scene is there in Germany and just Europe in general. It was really motivating to see like what can be done.
So might be interesting to hear that it didn't do much for us. There were no big record label deals or anything like that. Even from whatever mainstream media there might be in South Africa that is inclined to point its lens or its focus at the South African metal scene, well, we didn't hear a peep out of them. Most of the people that took an interest, or the, what would you call it, agency, organizations, media, whatever, that took an interest in me, we're the people that liked us already, you know, people that we had almost that personal, professional relationship with you already. And I wouldn't say that I felt an overwhelming interest in Zombies after the fact, you know, after we won. Obviously the outpouring of support and, you know, and everybody being stoked for us online, like from, you know, sort of the crowd, so to speak, online, was amazing and super heartfelt. Yeah, just super cool to see. But as it is from the industry, you know, aspects of it, not a lot of interest, and not a lot changed for us. We were still opening for bands, and I don't just mean international acts that came down. You know, if an international act came down, we were still the first band of the night. Places like Cranked Up or whatever, we're still playing on the second stage, you know, instead of the main stage. So yeah, from my perspective, I don't think a lot changed. We still had to drive, we still had to push.
So it definitely opened our eyes to what it entails to be in the international scene and stuff. So when we got back, it definitely brought us to a crossroad where we needed to decide, are we going to commit? Because the idea was, hey, maybe we should like move overseas and go play there and, you know, kind of start from scratch there, but there's more opportunities. We started thinking like, are we going to do that? Are we going to commit? Yes or no? Personally for me, I wanted to start a family and, you know, raise my kids in South Africa. So I thought it was just a lot to expect to just kind of reroute ourselves somewhere else. So even though Wacken was this amazing experience, it was a very sobering experience as well that kind of put things into perspective for me for what's important, what do I want from my music, what do I want from my life.
It was like super, super surreal. It just kind of blew shows up for us in a way. Like, you're so used to the club shows and everything that you see here, and then you see something of that stature. It's massive. Like, there's so much out there. And there's definitely a lot of people that don't know your sound that will potentially love your sound. Obviously it had quite a positive when it came to the label side, but again, I'll be honest, like, I don't think labels are for everyone. I think there's so much we can do by ourselves. It's cool because it's like, could be a bit of a bank kitty, but if you want any divulged information, it's something that we never really used. If anything, it's the network that we wanted most, and that opened doors for us, which we were supposed to go back the following year, not to Wacken, but to Belgium, to go play a festival called Summer Breeze. I think it more gave us a little bit more knowledge of how the industry works a little bit more. Like, as much as we've been, predominantly some of the boys, the older boys in the band, have been around it for so long, we still got exposed to something that was surprisingly new, which was interesting. I think it changed our perspective a little bit.
First of all, it would have a massive impact on any band from a country like ours going there. You get to not only watch play, but you get to meet and see and experience the best in the world, like the best in the business, the biggest bands, the biggest musicians, the biggest event organizers, the biggest merch stands. I think one of the biggest things we brought back from Wacken was just a realization that you have to be as unique as possible. Even though there's hundreds and thousands of bands trying to do what you're doing, and you trying to do what they're doing, you have to be as unique as possible. And also a realization that you have to fund, in the beginning, you have to fund yourself getting over there to get that exposure and everything. So it made us realize how hard we have to work. But at the same time, it's incredibly motivating.
In the end, Wacken is a dream stage for many bands, especially bands that come from the side of the world. Whether it's worth it or not, I think ultimately depends on the band's goals. Most bands that went to Wacken made a documentary or an aftermovie, and I've linked all of those videos in the description. It is where I got a lot of my footage from that is in this video. Great, thanks for watching. Bye.